Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this Raid Shadow Legends video, I'm going to go through some math and show you when is the best time to pull various types of shards and summon some beautiful champions from them. First, thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video, because do you know what's even better than getting champions from shards? That's of course getting champions for free, which you can do if you start a new Raid Shadow Legends account with my link. You can see the QR code on the screen, you can find the link down below in the description. That's going to get you some top tier champions that might be hard to come by even from shards. But assuming that you do want to open your shards as well, when should you open your shards? Shards synergize with multiple events in the game, and obviously you want to double dip or even triple dip into all sorts of bonuses when you open your shards. So what is available? First of all, there are these 2x events for epic, legendary and even mythical chances for Ancient, Void, Sacred and Primal shards. They cycle roughly one every 2 weeks for the first three, so for Ancient, Void and Sacred, those just cycle. And then Primal shard events, they are a little bit more varied. And then there are some guaranteed champion events, although those are not very common, where if you pull a certain number of specific type of shard, then you're guaranteed to get the champion from the last one. Then there are Summon Rush events and Champion Chase tournaments, which rely on opening shards. Champion Chase also includes other sources than shards, but still, and these are often also connected into fusion events, and fusions give you free legendaries, so they are quite valuable. Opening shards also synergizes with clan versus clan. And then a couple of things that I'm not so excited about. There's progressive chance events, which give you a higher chance to summon specific champions when you already pull a champion of that rarity. So it's not better overall odds, so I don't like progressive chance events at all, to be honest. And then there are these decks of fate and these sorts of things where you need to pull a lot of shards in order to try to get some rewards. So those, I see, they are pretty expensive. But if you have a lot of shards, then of course they also become available. Looking at the basic shard probabilities, there are the mystery shards, which are the only shard source for common and uncommon champions and sometimes rarely give you rare champions. Whereas ancient shards always give you rare or better champions, then the odds just vary. And primal shards are the only ones that can give you mythicals. So primal shards are basically ancient shards during the 2x event. But then they also have a tiny chance of mythicals. And then they have their own 2x events as well, in which case they have a bit of a higher chance at various things. But they still have a fairly low chance of legendary, so you still get a lot more legendaries from sacred shards than for primals. And then primals being the only source of mythicals, but you need many primal shards to really have a chance to pull a mythical champion. So those are extremely hard to come by and probably require quite a bit of spending. Whereas for the others, the 2x events are quite straightforward and clearly make those shards better. Even with 2x events, you still have a fairly low chance to pick up some legendaries, so especially when there are these regular fusion events that often give you legendary champions, then those are really attractive, because by pulling a fairly low number of shards, you get a guaranteed legendary, which is usually pretty good legendary, instead of just trying to go for those 1% chances. And fusion events typically have 2 summoning events as part of them, which are Summon Rush and Champion Chase. Summon Rush points come only from opening shards, and Champion Chase points come from getting champions any way possible, so from the market, from fusions, from anything, but also from shards. The value of shards in these 2 events differs quite a bit, because in Summon Rush it only matters what type of shard you open, and in Champion Chase it only matters what kind of champion you get. So in a Champion Chase there is randomness involved, and the expected values differ quite a bit. So here, comparing Summon Rush and Champion Chase values, we can see that Ancient Shards in particular are terrible to pull during Summon Rush, because Summon Rush values them really low, whereas they are much stronger during Champion Chase. And the opposite is true for Primal Shards. Primal Shards are terrible to pull during Champion Chase, because the expected result from them is very low, but they give you quite a bit of points for Summon Rush. Sacred Shards are always pretty good, and Mystery Shards can always be used to fill in gaps. So pulling shards during Summon Rush versus Champion Chase. During Summon Rush you primarily want to pull Sacred Shards and Primal Shards, and you want to really avoid Ancients. And you want to fill the gaps with preferably the Mystery Shards, but also Void Shards are still pretty good. Whereas in a champion chase, void shards and ancient shards are really good, and you really want to avoid pulling primal shards during a champion chase, and mystery shards can fill the gaps, and also sacred shards are always viable. Of course, if there's any 2x events going on during an event, that may change what you want to do. Shard availability, if you have some kind of shard in vast quantities, that may affect things. And obviously, champion chase, you can also get points from other sources than shards, whereas with summon rush you cannot. So when to pull each shard type? First, mystery shards. There's no 2x or guaranteed champion events for mystery shards. You want to build a strong supply of these. By buying every single one you see in the market, you want to have hundreds or even thousands of these, and that can give you hundreds or even thousands of points in various events. These can also be pulled for food as needed between events, but you can also use the market so that you can get some of the food there, so that you will build up a better supply of mystery shards. For ancient shards, there are 3 main cases where you want to be pulling these. During the 2x event, so that there's a higher chance of epic and legendary champions. During guaranteed champion events for ancient shards. For example, the Lady Mikage fusion epics have been available twice now for 40 ancient shards each. And there have also been other events that have consumed up to 180 ancient shards for a guaranteed champion. Then a champion chase event, especially when it's connected to a fusion event, because champion chase is where ancient shards have quite a good value. Void shards have 4 main use cases. Again, the 2x events, they are really good. Guaranteed champion events, they have been guaranteed champion events for 30 to 110 void shards each. Then champion chase, especially when it's connected to a fusion event, void shards have good value during champion chase. Void shards still have some value during summon rush as well, so you can use them to fill the gaps, although you would prefer to do that with mystery shards, but you don't have to avoid them like you would with ancient shards. Then there are primal shards, and this is the shard type that I have the most trouble with, because the odds, my mathematical mind just says that the odds are not there. These are terrible. These are like ancient shards in disguise, except that they're also the only source of mythical champions. So, the odds are really bad, 0.5% per shard. Even during a 2x event, it's only 1% per shard. You typically would want to avoid the 2x mythical only events, because they don't increase chance of legendaries and epics, so the expected value of these primals is still super low. But if you have lots of primal shards and the only thing that you're after are mythical champions, then any kind of 2x event will do. I would actually prefer to use some of these during summon rushes, especially if I don't have enough sacred shards around and summon rush is connected to a fusion event, because primal shards are high value for summon rush points, even though the expected value from an individual primal shard is very low. And finally, there are sacred shards, the jack of all trades of shards. 2x events, again, wonderful for these ones. Guaranteed champion events, there have been some guaranteed champion events that have required 20 sacred shards. Summon rush, especially when it's connected to a fusion event, using 4 to 6 sacred shards, maybe some mystery shards on top, is the primary way you complete a summon rush, although you can also use those primal shards. And then they can be used in champion chase events if needed, but ancient and void shards typically are more cost effective for champion chasing. So like with most things in Raid, you want to save your shards to be pulled at the right time to optimize your use of resources. There are various events that synergize with shards, and some of these are better than others. In particular, I really don't like those progressive chance events. I think you should not be pulling shards during those, but focus on 2x, focus on getting those fusions done. Fusions are guaranteed high value, and that's what I really like. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.